Hey guys, it's Bennett. Welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see in front of you, I have a box of 91 Fleer baseball that I pulled out of an old closet in my childhood home. No knife necessary to cut the wrapping, the factory seal off of these boxes because they didn't exist. And that is what the inside of the box looked like. This box was purchased in 1991 by yours truly and has been sitting in a closet for, 34 years? So let's open it up and let's see what we can pull out of here. Obviously, this is for nostalgia purposes only. There is nothing of any value in here. This is the height of the junk wax era. 91 Fleer baseball was a relatively ugly set, if we're being honest. You can see here on the back with the back of the packs, collect the Fleer 10-player all-star team. This unique limited edition set features 3-player photos per card and is randomly inserted in Fleer value packs. The 91 all-stars will be collectible for years to come. Boy, has there ever been anything written on a pack of cards that was less true than that. They became pretty much not collectible almost immediately. There are a couple of cool inserts in here. One in particular, there was a card that I really like and I still like, which is a second generation Stars card that has Bonds and Griffey on it, paying tribute to the fact that they were children of the, of the older generation. It's a really cool card. They're both like smiling. They're in their like third or fourth year in the league. It's a nice card. There are these team logo stickers. And this is the design of the card. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. We're going to look at some of these guys. I recognize all these names. There's Smoke, there's Pedro Guerrero, Gary Sheffield, Kevin McReynolds. I mean, if you're my age or around my age, there's Gibby. These cards and these this like kind of horrible stock and these ugly cards, which should bring back some memories for you. There's Jamie Moyer, probably in his, I don't know, he's probably 59 here. Moyer pitched forever. There's Norm Charlton, Andy Bennis, Frank Tanana. There's a couple of cards in here that people mistake for other cards. There's a Jose Uribe error card. The 90 version of it, I believe, has some value. It goes down to an incorrect birth year on the back of the card. The version from this year, which you'll see listed on eBay sometimes for like $7 or $8 grand in a 10, is probably worth about 75 cents. But, they're always looking for, that's a cool looking card. Look at that. Fleer Barry Larkin. These are the all-star, this is some of the all-star team cards. There's Canseco. You won't see me putting anything here in a top loader because it's really not about that. This box is probably worth exactly what it was when I bought it. Maybe a little bit less. I bought this in my local card shop in 1991 during my senior year of high school. So, there's a ton of cards in here, so we're going to go through it really quickly. We're going to see what we can pull out. I appreciate you joining me for these nostalgic rips. I know a lot of people come on YouTube and they're looking for, the big hit, the boom and the bang. And, I have some videos like that, as I'm sure you've seen if you follow my channel. But I like to rip these kinds of things open too and get back to, this is also part of the hobby. This time in the, when they were producing cards when nobody really had any interest anymore and cards had no value. Back in this year, I'll never forget it, I had an opportunity to buy a 1952 Topps Mantle in pretty good condition for about $4 grand. And ultimately I passed. And I know what you're saying. Wow, 52 Mantle for $4 grand. That was $4 grand in 1991 for a teenager. It would have taken a Herculean effort for me to get that card. Now, had I had the wherewithal to pull the trigger, what would that card be worth today? Well, let's not talk about that. There's Bo Jackson, because we know it would be worth a fortune. But, it's not one of those things that you can look back on and say, oh, well, how could you not do that? Well, because I was like 16 years old or 17 years old, and I didn't have $4,000. There's Billy Ripken, Scott Radinsky. There's Ron Darling. For those of you who are new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. My content is pretty much all sports, but bounce around a little bit here and there, and I'll open just about anything that comes in wax. I'm a collector of modern and vintage. Vintage is my passion. But if you're interested in this kind of stuff, there's Larkin's Base. Please feel free, there's Clemens, to subscribe to the channel. Here's NLCS team leaders. There's Bobby Bonilla and Barry Larkin. I don't know where Larkin's looking. Bonilla always took a good picture. Larkin looks a little confused. And also, please, like these videos, drop me a comment. Helps out with the algorithm, as everybody always talks about. And it just, it's nice to get some feedback when I do these things, because, I'm alone in a room when I'm filming these, and I don't know necessarily how they're received. There's the team logo stickers of the Yankees. I mean, these stickers were great. The actual stickers. These are just cards, right? But you could get the stickers also from Fleer. It was a whole other set that you could purchase. It used to be all over my Trapper Keeper. There's Ryan Sandberg, Chris Hammond, Biff Roberts, Von Hayes. There's Uribe. Let's see. Let's see if this is the famous Uribe card. So his real date of birth is 59. He was born in 1959. The error card says 1960. So let's see. What does this one say? Well, there's the error. Look at that. $7 grand, 20 grand, $100,000. I'll put it to the side because somebody might have an interest in buying that for a couple of dollars. It's Tim Wallach. Now, the cards that I mentioned, right? So Griffey Jr.'s card, just like all of these old set. Griffey Jr., there's Gwynn, Nolan Ryan, Bonds. If you can get a 10 on these, right, they're still worth, anywhere from $50 to $100. Is it worth grading them? No. Not unless you have, a real affinity for this set, which I don't understand why you would. Now, it's cardboard stock, right? So there's no chromium stock on these, so you don't have to worry about fingerprints or any kind of imperfections like that. But centering and, there still can be print errors on the backs of these. So I don't recommend grading them, even if you get a really nice looking Griffey or Bonds and you say, I'm going to pay $20 to grade it. I can sell it for $100. You'd be lucky to sell it for the $100. Where are you going to sell it? You're going to sell it on eBay. You bleed off the 13%. It costs you $20 to grade it, plus the shipping to get it there. At the end of the day, if you're lucky enough to get a 10, which you probably won't anyway, you're not going to make any money. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. I wouldn't recommend grading anything right now, frankly, with the way the market is. This is the Chicago 100 Club, Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson. It's pretty cool, right? If you want, you can pause that and read what the back of that card says. Give some information about those guys. There's the Hawk by himself on his base. There's Omar Vizquel we just passed. There's Hershiser. There's Bo's dad. There's Bobby Bonilla again. There's Galarraga, the big cat. What was your favorite, if you're around my age, what was your favorite set from the late 80s, early 90s? I was always an 87 Topps guy. I just always really liked, and I still like the design of that set. But let me know. I don't think anybody's going to choose 91 Fleer. There's Ellis Burks. He was a big star for a second in his day. There's Joe Oliver. Look at Joe Oliver. Joe Oliver looks like he's working at your local car dealership, doesn't he? A lot of these guys. And it's amazing how much different. Look at this. If this was my picture, if I'm Jim Eisenreich, right, and my career was relatively short in the majors, and this is the picture they chose for me. Whoop. Oh, Jim. Sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to do that to you. Anyway, Jim's on the floor now. We'll pick Jim up later and throw him away. There's Dickie Thon, Jim Ganter, Carlos Baerga. There's Tommy Glavine. Look at this. Your pitcher sliding into home. It's an interesting choice. There's still a lot of packs left, guys. So, again, if you're like me, I just enjoy seeing these cards. I enjoy seeing the old players, the pictures. If you enjoy it too, I'm glad you stuck around. For those who turned this off and this wasn't their bag, I get that too, and I respect it. I hope they chose to, watch for a little while before they did it, but I understand if they didn't. There's the Chicago 100 Club again. There's Dawson again. There's Vizquel. You'll see it's the exact same pack as before. There's Hershiser. These were set up, these cards ran the same way as a lot of cards from the 80s and 90s, meaning the print runs were predictable. So if you get one run of cards, they're going to be in a row every time. It doesn't really help you like it does, let's say, for 86 Fleer. If you're looking for the Jordan rookie, you're going to know. There's Strawberry. Look at that. Look at Strawberry, Gullickson, Schilling. There's Fernando towards the end of his career. There's Edgar Martinez towards the beginning of his career. Jesse Barfield, Jeffrey Leonard. I don't know if you remember Jeffrey Leonard. Jeffrey Leonard had a couple of big seasons in the majors. Younger guys probably won't recognize that name, but Jeffrey Leonard was one of those guys, played for the Giants, played for the Mariners. I think he had most of his success with the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. But he bounced around. He was a guy, John Smiley. Couldn't even get him his own picture, really. Looks like, I don't know what team that is in the foreground. Somebody blurred out. There's Larry Walker. There's a young Larry Walker. Dave Island, who would later become a pitching coach for the Yankees. Calvin Schiraldi. Tim Tuffle. Tony Fernandez. Bob Kipper. Joe Ursulak. Mike Portugal. And we are, believe it or not, only halfway through this box, right? Crazy. They give you a lot of cards. I mean, they weren't worth anything, but if you needed to start a fire, or even today, there's Ricky. Look at Ricky. I got an action shot. There's Glavine again. Thigpen, Dave Schmidt. I'm not even going to flip these over. Yes, I will, because now it's annoying me. There's Canseco. There's Lonnie Smith, John Tudor, Bob Ojeda. It's great seeing these guys. Bobby Ojeda, victim of one of the strangest injuries ever. Also, typical like baseball injury. These guys always hurt themselves in the weirdest ways off the field. Like I think Freddie Freeman just re-aggravated his ankle getting out of the shower or something like that. I mean, Bob Ojeda was trimming his hedges apparently in the 80s while he played for the Mets, and he cut the tips of his fingers off on his pitching hand. Took him like 9 months to get back. That's my memory of it, or at least. That's not, I could be making that up. I know there was all kinds of stuff happened, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. There's Gary Gaetti. There's another guy who didn't look like a baseball player. Didn't look like an athlete. I mean, a lot of these guys, right? They just didn't look like athletes. There was no training regimens like there are today. They weren't worried about their diet. I mean, there were a couple of guys probably who were, and those guys really had a leg up on the rest of them. Look at Ron Kittle. Ron Kittle looks like he's hanging out at like a cocktail party. He's in the on deck circle. He's gonna bat. I don't know. Mike Schooler, Joe Mograine. We still haven't found that card. Kent Anderson. There's been Ian Larkin again. I really want to find one of those. I don't know why that was flipped around. There's a Ryan Sandberg All-Star team card. There's Ripken. I'd like to find one of those Griffey and Bonds cards. I'd like to keep one of those from this. There should be at least one in here. I mean, there's like 1,000 cards in this box. You would imagine at least one of them would be that. I would assume, one of the good things about like opening cards like this as a kid is putting these sets together was really, really easy. There's Top Game Savers, Bobby Thigpen, John Franco, who was also probably in his 40s by then. There's Frank White. Was that you could put together these sets like out of a couple of boxes of cards. There's Sandy Alomar. Like even though they were, oftentimes 600 card sets or whatever. I don't know how many cards were in this, but I'm guessing it had to be 600 cards. You were getting, this is 30 cards per pack, right? Times times like 24 packs. So, do the math. You get a ton of cards. Absolute, veritable ton of cards. So out of a few boxes of cards, you can put this set together. You can also buy the set, which I think I did. Oh, there it is. There they are. Look at that picture. Isn't that nice? Second generation stars. There's Griffey and Bonds. Again, Griffey looking at the camera. Bonds looking at the guy he was going to buy his PEDs from, I guess. I'm kidding. This is 91. This is long before Bonds started down that road. But look at those guys. Look pretty happy, right? What does it say? Second generation stars, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds. Goes through the whole thing. Now you can see, like in a card like this, you can see the centering's off, right? It's off left to right. I mean, the corners are fine, whatever. It's off again in the front. You know, I'll keep it, but am I going to grade that and try to turn that, you know, $3 card into a $100 card? No, because there's no way it's going to get a 10. There's Benito Santiago, the great arms of his generation. There's Fisk, a good catcher. Santiago could hit, though. Fisk could hit for a catcher of his era. You know, Fisk was already getting old in 91. But he couldn't hit, not by you know, the standards we think of today. Brian Harvey, Kirk Caskell, Barry Larkin, Sid Bream, Kevin Elster. There's Dennis Eckersley. Look at that delivery. That's a great picture, actually. Kelly Gruber, Dave Stewart, Gary Sheffield. We've had this run of cards before. We've seen that already. All right, we are down to the bottom layer. The bottom layer for all you hardcore junk wax era baseball fans who stuck around. I really appreciate it. Tony Phillips, Tom Herring, Jim Abbott. There's Jim Abbott. Can't really see his, he's only got one arm, as we know. John Smiley. There's Jimmy Leyritz. Larry Walker again. There's Conine. His son's playing for, I think his son's on the Marlins now, right? I'm pretty sure. A lot of these guys, this is the generation. Like, you'll see these guys, a lot of these guys, their kids are in the majors. A lot of them. It's something that's really cool to see, and also something that, you know, makes me feel old, obviously. There are the logos, although this one's going away, right? See, these stickers you could peel off. Let me see if I can get one. So these are the cards. Let me see. So these, I think, if memory serves, you could peel these off. Yep, see? You could peel these off and stick them to your book or something. It's pretty cool. As a kid, you know, I was probably a little too old when this happened. Chris Gwynn. Anybody remember Chris Gwynn? Larry Sheets. I don't know if you're my age, you probably remember, but Mark Langston, Billy Hatcher. There's Barry Bonds. We'll put Barry down there. There's Mike Fitzgerald. You know, I'll open a box like this. It's got 1,200 cards in it, and I'll save, 4. Because, again, it's for nostalgic purposes as much as anything else, just so I have them. But it was cool, going through my old house as a kid and my old childhood home. It was just sold, so sort of like the end of an era, but pulling this stuff out of boxes. I made a video about that. It's there's Griffey and there's the Griffey. Look at that, back-to-back packs. It was there's a certain amount of nostalgia. It's a little bit sad, but it's also, it's just a little bit sad. There's Ken Griffey Jr. But it's nice to go through this, and I'm glad I get to share it with all of you guys out there. There's Roger Clemens, there's the Rocket. Shame. Clemens and Bonds. I mean, as we get further and further removed from all that nonsense, it really is a shame what they did. They were phenomenal. Like anybody, again, if you're of a certain age, you remember those guys. You remember Clemens in the 80s. You remember, there's Bobby Witt's dad. You remember, there's Ryan. What these guys were like. You remember Clemens in the 80s, dominant Clemens. You remember Bonds in the late 80s, early 90s with those Pittsburgh teams, even when he first came to the Giants. I mean, these guys were unbelievable. God knows they didn't need any help. But, do they become otherworldly? Like, does Bonds ever become that player without that stuff? No, of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. Just like David Ortiz. He's a Boston legend, right? Without the drugs, does David Ortiz ever even have a career? Right? He got cut by the Minnesota Twins because he couldn't hit a fastball, and 2 years later, he's a dominant, hitter with the Red Sox, and then has a career with the Red Sox that, it just doesn't make any sense. But, would they have been those things? No. But Bonds and Clemens are different, because Bonds and Clemens were special talents. Juan Gonzalez once had 101 or 102 RBIs at the All-Star break, I remember, right around this time. He was a beast. There's Maddox, still in the Cubs. That's his last season, I think, on the Cubs before he headed to the Braves and then tortured my Mets for a decade or so. But those guys really were special talents. I mean, they were Hall of Famers. They were phenomenal. They were phenomenal players, and it's just a shame what happened. There's Jack Clark, Jeff Robinson. There's Danny Tartable. Jack Clark, I mean, just look at that picture. Jack Clark always seemed like the kind of guy you wouldn't want to mess with. There's Jack Armstrong, Jeff Robinson, Mike Scioscia, Lenny Dykstra. Boy, what happened to him? Whew. Johnny Ray, Steve Fry. There's Bo Jackson again, Dave LaPointe. Blyleven, there's Mike Witt, Jeff Russell, Dave Johnson, Mike Parent, and the last card of the 91 Fleer box is Steve Finley. How you doing, Steve? Anyway, guys, that was 1991 Fleer baseball. Thanks for taking a ride with me down memory lane. And again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. If you could drop a like, that would be great. And drop me a comment. Let me know what your favorite set was from this era. I'm curious to know. Anyway, till next time.